Hello and welcome. In this video, I just wanted to give you all an introduction to who I am as your instructor, whether you be a student in one of my courses or just a person on YouTube who stumbled their way into my lectures. I think it's always helpful to have sort of a face and a story to the person who is teaching you. And so that's what this video is here to do. So to start off, my name is of course Alexander Spahn, or just Mr. Spahn. I am technically not Dr. Spahn because I don't have my PhD. I only have a master's and then was hired right out of graduate school at that point. So the reason I do this, again, not only to give you a face to who I am, but also I make my students do this in class where they introduce themselves, so it's only fair that I do it as well. So let's go into it. This is me at the front of the classroom, but I guess you can't really see me, so here's me with a ridiculous mustache. Here's me with my ridiculous dog. Here's me holding Comet Neowise in 2020. And here's me standing in front of a volcano. This is a very odd assortment of photos, of course, but I actually don't really have many normal, standard photos you'd find on a university website. And besides, I think those are boring anyway. They don't really tell you much about the actual person. It's just a face. So maybe this gives you a better idea of who I am. But anyway, let's get this awkward part out of the way. You have a face to who I am now, so let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of the story part. I was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I lived there for 18 years, where I went to high school and everything, before I went to university in Florida. I attended the Florida Institute of Technology, or FIT, for 4 years, where I got my undergraduate degrees, or bachelor degrees. I double majored in astrophysics and mathematical sciences. So I had those 2 degrees in the 4 years I was there. The main building you see here is the physical science building. You can see a dome up at the top, which houses the 0.8 meter telescope that they have. So I spent quite a few nights up there researching white dwarf stars. After I got my bachelor's degrees here, I went over to Texas for my graduate degree. So this is Texas A&M University Commerce, not the main campus. Here I got my master's degree in physics. During my time here, I did a lot of other things as well. I was the stockroom manager. I was the president of the Society of Physics Students. I was a grad student teacher. I did a lot of grading. Also took over some of the classes when a professor wasn't there. Things like that. So I got my master's degree here, and then almost immediately after that, the summer after I graduated, I was contacted and hired by Southeastern Oklahoma State University, where I teach. So if I were to give you career goals, well, I already accomplished one of those, thankfully. I'm very fortunate. Teaching is something I've always known that I liked and felt that I was quite good at. And so that's one of them. If I wasn't teaching or whatever, if I want to go back to school, which I still may, I'd probably go back for meteorology. You'll see why in just a moment. But at some point in the future, perhaps I might be a meteorologist. Whether it be broadcast or strictly research-based, I'm not too sure, but I know it's something that I would love to do. In terms of hobbies, my primary hobby is photography. I try to do this as much as I can when I'm not grading papers, which is almost my whole life, but that's beside the point. Going along with photography is travel. So I like to travel with my camera and take lots of photos of nature. The way I think of it is I like to take photos of things that most people don't get to see every day. So that could be crazy landscapes or things in nature, things up close like animals or minerals, or stills of fireworks, for example, as you see in the bottom right. So a lot of these photos actually come from Iceland. I just got back from Iceland in May of 2021. So I had a lot of adventures there that, any photographer would dream of. And I'm very fortunate for that. Well, one of my other main hobbies is storm chasing. I actually storm chase. So here's just a sample of pretty photos that I've taken over the last couple of years. Here's a storm that I chased in southwest Oklahoma. This storm was near Hollis, Oklahoma in 2019. This is actually a storm that, in a way, got me a secondary contracting type job. I storm chase now for K10 News out of Denison, Texas, at the time of this recording, at least. But it's not just about the pretty pictures. A big part of storm chasing is seeing tornadoes. You never want to see them causing damage, of course. Any storm chaser will tell you that. We just hope to see them in empty fields, not really doing any harm to anybody. But here's just some of the first tornadoes I've seen. I started chasing in 2017. I didn't chase this year since I went to Iceland, but I've seen a total of 18 tornadoes so far. I did want to give one quick story about a tornado that I saw. This monster here was 0.8 miles wide and occurred only about 10 minutes away from where I live and work. I was the only known person to actually see this tornado. It happened overnight and in a rural part of the state, and so this thing was just kind of a monster hiding at night. And what I wanted to tell you about this is kind of a story about one side of storm chasing. So in the bottom, you can actually see a receipt of the National Weather Service's internal chat room. At 9:06 p.m., you can see from Alexander Spahn, me, I typed out to them, to the National Weather Service, possible tornado, power flashes occurring under a rotating wall cloud. So I'm telling them what I'm seeing. I saw what I thought was a tornado, but it's, again, pitch black at night, so I wasn't sure. That's why I said possible. Well, that very minute, they sent an internal chat saying that a tornado warning was coming, and then the very next minute, 9:07 p.m., they issued a formal tornado warning. So it's kind of cool, really cool, to be a part of that process, to help them issue a warning based on actual grounded truth with my eyes. So the reason this one is so important to me is it did unfortunately claim 2 lives, but it could have been worse as far as it seems. I talked to a family that night whose home was hit by this tornado. They told me that they were outside grilling. They got the warning on their phones 30 seconds before it hit. They said it downed like all the trees around their home, and they are quite confident that they wouldn't be here today if they didn't get that warning. So while sometimes storm chasers can be perceived as just adrenaline junkies getting in people's way trying to see a tornado, there is another side of it, and sometimes you can do genuine good. So, this one just has kind of a personal story for me. But anyways, here's just a sampling of tornadoes that I saw in 2020. Again, I didn't chase this year, 2021, but here's the ones I saw last year. Here's a map of where I've seen tornadoes. I haven't traveled too far. My furthest ones were in Nebraska and Mississippi. Okay, this is turning into show and tell, so I need to move on. Here's just a few quick animations. This is one from a storm near where I live. Just kind of a fun time lapse that I put together. Here's another one from Northwest Texas. This is what we call a LP supercell, low precipitation. You can tell that there's not a lot of rain falling out of this. And it's a supercell. I won't get into it, but mainly because it's rotating as well. I did also mention that I went to Iceland, so this is one of my favorite experiences. Actually, let me restate that. It is my favorite and best experience I've ever had. I got to see the active volcanic eruption in Iceland back in May. In May. This is a crazy series of photos that I took. It looks like these people are standing right against the lava, but they're actually a safe distance, about 1,000 feet away. It just looks crazy because I'm using a really big zoom lens to zoom in on them, so they look large or look small against the lava. They're at a safe distance. I actually went up there and even closer than they are after I took this series of photos. Okay, I'm also a pyro/idiot. Idiot because you should never do anything like this, ever. I probably shouldn't even show you this, but I like fire and adrenaline rushes, so, I do stupid things. Like strap thousands of Roman candles to my hands and light them on fire. Anyway, moving on. A big part of my life is also my dog. He is a shelter rescue I got almost 3 years ago, and he's just over 3 years old at the time of this recording. His name, appropriately, is Chaser. Alright, just some basic general interests. My favorite movie ever is Lord of the Rings, extended editions, of course. But Parasite and Saving Private Ryan come in close second/third. In terms of TV shows, Game of Thrones, minus the finale and maybe the whole final season at that rate, but Rick and Morty, Stranger Things, The Boys, can't go wrong with SpongeBob, and so on. I've always been a big gamer, love pretty much all video games, almost all of them at least. Sports, I'm pretty much exclusively a Packers fan. I don't really watch other sports too much, but I do still enjoy them generally. And in terms of music, I just listen to dance music. It's almost been that way for over a decade. But anyway. I wanted to end with 3 separate things. First, a quote, and then 2 interesting Twitter threads that I came across. Here's a quote that I like to show in all of my classes at the beginning. This is from Edwin Hubble, and it states, "Equipped with his 5 senses, man explores the universe around him and calls the adventure science." First of all, I don't like that it says man exclusively, but that's beside the point. What I focus on here is one word, and that's adventure. A lot of times, if you're a student, which I guess all of you are technically, you are probably going to encounter boring material, dry material, tough material. Classes are hard, and especially things like physics, but you might not really feel like you're having a lot of fun or feeling an adventure when you're taking classes like these. But I hope that at some point you feel some passion for science. And when you do, I think you'll start to understand this quote, because science really is an adventure. Whether it's an adventure in learning, an adventure in observations and research, teaching, whatever. It is an adventure. It's thrilling, at least it can be, and just the process of learning more and more and more about things that are happening around you. I mean, I'm biased, of course, but I think it doesn't get much better. So I really like to think of it as an adventure. Even if it's a painful one, because you're a student going through tough classes, try to find that passion or that sense of adventure somewhere, with some material, some instructor, whatever you have. So this pertains mostly to my actual students, but even if you're on YouTube, you can leave comments or something. I don't always get to them. I'm really busy, but always, 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 always feel free to ask me for help. It's always hard to go to an instructor. It can be embarrassing, intimidating, whatever it might be, but I can at least state for myself that I'm here for you. That's why I got into teaching. I love helping my students, and I don't care how many times you have to come in to get help or how long you're there for. It's why I'm here, right? If I'm not I didn't get into teaching because of the money, because there isn't a lot of it, so I'm here for you. So please, if you're ever struggling, whether it be with a class material, studying for a test, even general life issues, if you just need someone to talk to, I'm here. So I included a photo of my office just because I wanted to show that I think at least it's somewhat inviting. I try to be inviting as much as I can because it's what I'm here for. So please, reach out if you need anything at all. That said, I understand, especially as the semester goes on and I'm more and more exhausted, I can look a bit like this. So I might not always seem that approachable, but I promise you deep down inside, even if I am a zombie at some point because of all the work, I'm still here for you and I want to help you. So please never take a general appearance or anything as a reason for you to not come in. I'm always here for you. So to close out, I wanted to leave you with 2 different Twitter threads that I really enjoyed. The first one says, please quote this tweet with your best advice for somebody starting their freshman year of college on Monday. Now this reads, of course, as if it's only for freshmen, but I do think it applies to pretty much any student, regardless of year. The first one, you are there for the education. The extracurricular activities are fun and part of the college experience, but you are there for the education, never forget that. Now this is me in professor mode, of course. Of course, you're here for the education. It's so, so, so important. And think about it too. Somebody's paying for it, whether it's you directly, you're taking out loans maybe your parents are helping pay for it, or even you got scholarships and the school or whoever's funding that scholarship is paying for it. But, keep that in mind, what you're here for. That said, I'll go out of professor mode for a second. Of course, the extracurriculars are important too. Even whatever you do with your friends or whatever outside of this university as well. University is a lot shorter than it will seem like. It'll end before you know it, and you'll wish you have done more things than you probably did. So do everything you can, but make sure you don't lose sight of your education. This goes along with what I was just saying, but get to know your professors at the beginning of the semester and utilize their hours and resources. I can't speak for every professor. I know some are certainly less approachable than others, but seek out the help if you need it. Most of us are here for the reason to help you, and we want to. In fact, I actually get genuine joy when a student comes to my office because it shows that they care, right? Maybe they don't love the material or anything, but they actually care about doing well, and you can be there for them. So keep that in mind. This next one mostly just reaches me on a spiritual level. I don't have actually science behind this or anything, but don't ever take 8 a.m. classes if you don't have to. I'm not a morning person, so I just put this one in here probably because of that. There's no actual reason I can think of to actually back this one up, but I think it resonates with pretty much everybody. This one is a favorite of mine, though. Everybody else is as nervous as you are. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and get used to being wrong. It might be embarrassing, but rolling with it and learning the right answer is the whole point. This is so important, especially in hard sciences. First of all, nobody really likes raising their hand in class to either ask or answer a question, because you could be wrong, or you could ask a question that somebody else knows and now you feel stupid, but you're not. Everybody has questions. And a good rule of thumb is if you have a question, somebody else in the class does too, and you're going to help them by asking the question as well. Also, get used to being wrong. It happens a lot, and there's no shame in that. A huge part of science is being wrong. I mean, first of all, if you're wrong, that means we now know what a wrong answer is, and we're closer to the right answer. But not only that, you're not the only one that's going to answer things wrong. I'm wrong all the time, even myself. I even say the wrong thing occasionally in my lectures. It's just human. I'm human, you're human. You might be human, I guess I don't know that for sure. But we're all human, right? We all make mistakes. It's okay to be wrong, especially as a first-time student in a tough class like some of these sciences can be. So get used to that. It's how things work. And I hope that in my classrooms, I can build an environment where you don't have to feel nervous or worried about being wrong. It just happens. Here's another great one. I don't know for sure that this applies everywhere, so don't take my word for it, but do some research if this interests you. Counseling on campus is often free. Tuition tends to pay for that. Seek the therapy if you need it. Alternatively, if you're struggling with the class or life, talk to your professors, like I said. Again, some might not be super approachable, but most of us are here for you. We will work with you so that you can complete the course and get through whatever you need. But again, be proactive. A lot of times we don't have the time to reach out to every person. I mean, usually if we sense something wrong, we will. But if you're struggling, you gotta, reach out, take that jump and say, hey, I need some help. Now, counseling isn't just for, someone who's say depressed or going through tough issues. It could just be you need help organizing better or managing your time better. Counseling can help so much, and I hate that there's still this little bit of a negative stigmatism about it. Anyone should go to counseling. Even if you don't think you need to, you should try it. If you can, like I said, do it for free. It is really helpful. Almost everybody I know that's done it has had a very positive experience with it. And when I was in grad school, I even went to counseling for a little while, and it helps a lot. So never be afraid to do it. There's no shame in it whatsoever, and it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong or, there's no shame in asking for that help. It's human. And sometimes talking to someone, especially a third party who's not already a part of your life, can just really, really help. So I suggest it and even encourage it. Last but not least, just go to class, every class. It's easy to get in the mindset of, well, as long as I do the readings and assignments, it doesn't matter. So just keep that in mind. A lot of times classes, and I'll tell you right off the bat, if you're a student of mine, you don't just get by the bare minimum. If you want a really good grade, it's going to cost you some effort, right? You're in college, you're an adult, so just be aware that showing up and doing that work is pivotal and part of the experience. All right, last one. I should have put this so that only one shows up at a time, but we're starting on the bottom left. The first post here says, I'm an astrophysicist figuring out when stars will explode, and I dropped my first college physics class because I was lost and felt too stupid. This kicked off a huge thread of thousands of replies of similar stories, so I just wanted to read through a few of them and then discuss why I'm showing you this. The next one above it says, I'm an astrophysicist studying the lives of supermassive black holes, and I dropped out of my honors high school physics class because I struggled with the concepts and hated the subject matter. It wasn't until Intro Astro in college that I realized physics could be fun. The next one says, I got a D in my first college math class and just about the same in physics. I almost dropped out. I bombed the physics GRE years later, which is a big test that you take in physics to get into grad school. They are now the chief scientist at one of the world's better observatories, the Keck Observatory. Next, I got a C in math and a C- in physics. Technically really not the worst ever, but they were told by their physics advisor to change majors. Let me take an aside here real quick. If your advisor, whoever that may be, tells you to change majors because you did bad in a class, you need to change advisors, not majors. If you still have a passion for the subject matter and you're there to figure out what you need to do to, push through it and work hard and get through all this, and they tell you to quit, you have the wrong advisor, or they should not be advising, at least. So just keep that in mind. Never let somebody tell you to not follow a passion or something just because you hit a bump in the road or you didn't quite get the grade you think you needed. That's absurd. Anyways, they just became the Associate Chair of Astronomy at UT Austin. And last but not least, this one's great. I almost dropped freshman physics when I made a 64 on the first exam, but no, I put my butt into gear, studied super hard for the next exam, and made a 65. They now have a PhD in applied physics because of a series of fantastic mentors. So I'm not showing you this just to say, hey, you're going to get C's, D's, or F's in classes. I'm not trying to scare you by showing you these. But there's a reason for this, and I think it's important. It shows that even successful people struggled. So if you struggle, if you get a D or a C or even an F, that doesn't mean it's the end of the road for you. It doesn't mean you're suddenly just going to be okay, of course, but it's not the end of the road. So you are not alone if you're struggling. Some of the most successful people do. So these people are all great examples of this. And I didn't necessarily get as high up as these people, but I'm a teacher of the material that I even struggled with back at a time. And I did struggle. So, just keep that in mind, right? You're not alone in the struggle. Everyone struggles at some point. You'll be hard-pressed to find a single student that doesn't struggle at any point, even if they don't show it. So keep that in mind. You're not alone in struggling. It's okay. It's a part of the experience, unfortunately, but you can get through it. Keep your passion. Keep fighting for what you want to do. You can do it. So I hope that helps. I got a little sidetracked here. This is supposed to be just about who I am, but hopefully overall this gives you a better picture to paint a story and a face to who is talking to you throughout these lectures. So take care. I hope you enjoy these lecture videos. I always welcome comments or even constructive criticism, anything of that sort. Let me know what you think, and I'll try to get back in touch with some of you. Again, if it's a public comment on YouTube, I don't have time really to respond to all of them, but if I can, I will. So take care, y'all, and I'll see you around.